Alchemystic Insight, Episode 1. The tower has fallen. What we build now is up to us. The world is shifting. Systems are crumbling. Illusions are breaking. And the transpersonal planets moving through generational transits are reshaping everything. The question is, are you ready to lead yourself through it? Welcome to Alchemistic Insight, where we bridge metaphysical philosophy, alchemy, mysticism, esoteric wisdom, and real-world strategy to turn insight into action. I'm Reverend Danielle M Holdman, and it's time to see through the illusion, stay centered in source, stand in your power, and create a real change. Now let's get to work. Hello and welcome to Alchemystic Insight, hosted by me, Reverend Danielle M Holdman. In this debut episode, the central focus will be on the collective pulse insight reading. Now, that is a specific dispatch that will be delivered on both the new moon, after the new moon waxing period and the full moon waning period. So, for example, I did this reading about a few days ago on the new moon in Pisces period, and I just sat with it, meditated on it, what I wanted to add to the reading in this podcast episode. But it's delivered during this waxing period time, and it's valid for about a couple of weeks until the full moon period. So it's fair to say that this episode's reading pretty much sets the tone of the podcast for the most part moving forward. Now, these episodes are a deep dive into the shifting energies of the collective consciousness, where we are at right now, what's unfolding, and how we can navigate these times with awareness, with resilience, and with purpose. So before we dive into the episode, I wanted to do a little bit of housekeeping. If we have never been acquainted before, especially if you have never listened to my original podcast, The Alchemy Parlor, welcome. I'm very happy that we have come across each other. It's been 5 years since I last recorded an episode of a podcast, and I felt that spirit moved me to get back on the horse and ride the horse, metaphorically, and that means dust off my microphone, assemble it, and press record. So I'm happy to be here, especially during this time that of uncertainty. It's very tumultuous, it's very chaotic, but voices like myself and yours are needed now. So here I am. I do invite you to subscribe to the show wherever you will find any podcasts. That includes the Apple Podcast directory, Pocket Cast, YouTube, Spotify, Audible, wherever you consume your podcasts, that's where I'm at. But what I would really love for you to do is to sign up for the newsletter at danielleholdman.com. And you will receive the episodes directly in your inbox. It's free of charge. You do get additional communication from me, conversations with me, additional insights via the newsletter that I will most likely not record a podcast episode on. So if you want the full experience of Alchemistic Insight, make sure that you go to danielleholdman.com and sign up for the newsletter. It is free. It is an extension of my ministry that is open to all individuals, regardless of your lived experience. As my soul brother and sister, you are welcome here, as long as you are here in alignment with God's divine light, love, and truth that is prevalent within all of us if we choose to recognize it. And when I do say God, I also mean divine source energy, divine mother and father God, divine intelligence. I change the terminology here but this is open to everybody. And I always say that I am a secular woman of God. because I don't like to personally attach myself to titles and categories, because I feel like if you are in alignment with God, it transcends all labels, all however you identify yourself, whatever spiritual and religious path. I'm here to just be a beacon of light in this time of chaos and turmoil. So thank you in advance for being here. And I look forward to further developing my relationship with you. So each dispatch episode, I'll be tapping into the energy of the collective, reading the signs, offering insight, clarity, and a call to action. This isn't just about observation. It's about empowerment, because awareness is the first step, but what we choose to do with it is what truly matters. And the reason why I want to do this is because there's so much going on. And in the past incarnation of my podcast, I had interviews, which I will have again, but we talked about concepts and theories, and we'll do that. But I want to move you towards action, because discussion is great, but action is even better. And that's something that I had to learn for myself. Discussion is great, but action is even better. And I do consider myself a spiritual activist, and this podcast is an extension of that, because we all have the right to be here. We all have the right to be free and be sovereign beings. And we all need to work together in order to make necessary changes that are for the betterment of all peoples, whether it is nationally or internationally. We all are just, at the end of the day, spiritual beings having a human experience, trying to walk each other back home. So before we begin, I do want to set the tone with a prayer for this episode. So ground yourself. Take 3 deep breaths so that you can be at ease. And focus your attention inward. Focus your attention within your heart chakra, within your heart space. Focus your attention so that you are in alignment with divine compassion and grace and peace. Divine light, guide us through the storm. Let the illusions fall and may truth rise from the ashes. Grant us the courage to awaken, the wisdom to align, and the strength to act with purpose. May we be builders of justice, keepers of truth, and flames of transformation. So be it. It is done. Selah. So as we move forward with the collective pulse insight, the overview of the reading is pretty much a snapshot of where the collective consciousness is right now. So where we're at within this 2-week span, specifically since Thursday, February 27th, which was the day of the new moon in Pisces. If you are familiar with the energy of Pisces, Pisces is a water sign, so it's fluid. If you want to think of Pisces, think of it as the ocean and the deep ocean. And we are immersed in this energy where it is a blend of reality and illusion. It is very mystical. It is very artistic, creative. It also can breed escapism. It is kind of like Pisces energy is you go with the flow. You go with the flow of the energy. It can merge. Pisces have a tendency to easily be able to merge with other people's energies. And if not careful, they can take on other people's energies also and not differentiate whether it's their energy or another person's energy. But that's just a surface level. I'll probably will do a deep dive into Piscean energy in an upcoming episode. But just know that with this new moon, we're planting seeds, right? We're planting seeds into how can we develop healthier relationships with the world around us. That is what I intuitively tapped into. Another note that this is eclipse season. You probably hear that phrase in the zeitgeist in certain spaces online, eclipse season. So this past Thursday's new moon in Pisces wasn't an eclipse, but an upcoming lunar eclipse is happening during the full moon. And then a solar eclipse is happening 2 weeks after that. So eclipses are hard resets of lunar energy, with this emotionally, subconsciously, you're letting go of something. And solar eclipses are more, you're setting something new, you're setting a new path. I think of it consciously. That's how my mind frame, that's my consciousness breaks it down. Doesn't mean that it's wrong or right. That's just how my consciousness understands eclipses. It's something that you can't escape it. So whatever no longer serves you, the eclipse will reset it. So that is the cycle that we are in. Understand that astrology is pop astrology. When I say pop or mainstream, you look at, what's your sun sign? For example, I'm a Leo. Or now you're seeing more people become more aware of the different planetary energies in astrology. So you hear someone say that they're a moon in this or a rising this. But if we look at astrology, it's a timekeeper, and it tracks cycles within our evolution, within our personal human experience. And it's a timekeeper, and it keeps track of history in the past. So, for example, we will be talking about the dismantling of Pluto of Aquarius, the dismantling process of Pluto and Aquarius. Pluto and Aquarius has been in that sign 200 and something years ago. In addition, America specifically just experienced its Pluto return in Capricorn. Again, we are now in Pluto in Aquarius, which is the aftermath, which coincides kind of like the Book of Revelations, the end of time, which means it's the end of an era. And we are experiencing that. We are seeing the signs around us. So as disheartening, as troubling, as chaotic the energies are, stay rooted, stay grounded, and stay centered in divine source energy, in love, grace, and compassion for yourself, and respect, love, grace, and compassion for others and their lived experience. That's more important now than ever. So we're going to move forward. Again, like I said, the snapshot of where the collective consciousness is right now. And we will revisit this energy in a couple of weeks. Themes of nostalgia, the collapse, privilege, action, and truth seeking came up in this reading, and we will go over that. And a call to action to move from passive awareness to active transformation. It's something that we all have to do. Whether you do it now or you do it later, you have to take action. Your life literally depends on it. So let's go ahead and focus on the first card that came out of the reading. And that would be the Six of Cups. Now, the Six of Cups in this particular reading is looked at as nostalgia, as comfort, and as a trap. So there are some key, here's a key question that I want you to consider. Are we remembering the past to learn from it, or using it as an escape? Now, nostalgia, the theme of nostalgia has really come up a lot over the last 10 years, specifically in America. And if this episode seems really America-centrist right now, it's because when I live in America, the energy and the activity that is happening here and what is the story that is happening here is affecting me as an American citizen, as a resident in America, but it does have international ramification because at the end of the day, no matter where we are at in the planet, we are all interconnected. So what's happening here is having a domino effect elsewhere in the world. It's like that. We may feel like we're in the illusion of being separate, but we're all connected in some way, shape, or form. So this is a message for everybody because this is the collective energy. So if maybe you may not be directly experiencing this, but indirectly you are, or you're observing it. And if you're just observing, send for spiritual healing to this nation, to this country, and internationally. So moving forward, nostalgia has come up a lot on a national stage for about 10 years now. Make America Great Again is tapping into one's nostalgia, longing and yearning for a past that no longer exists. So this card, Six of Cups, is a deep longing for the past, a desire to return to a time that felt safer, more innocent, and more stable. And we all we all find comfort in nostalgia because when we look at times when we felt more free, where we felt more secure, where we felt like we were at our peak or we were coming of age, like how people really are interested in certain decades or longing for certain decades. Heck, even longing for decades you weren't even born yet in. Like there's something there's something particular about that time period that draws you in and really touches your soul. So we all participate in nostalgia. We all look at we look at old movies and sitcoms and dramas. It causes us to reflect back on a time where it seemed more innocent. You hear that statement, this time we seem more innocent. So nostalgia it can be very healthy, but when it becomes very unhealthy it can become an illusion, right? So nostalgia as a form of an emotional refuge. And the question is it real or is it an illusion? So when you're tapping into a nostalgia, such as what has been weaponized and has caused a lot of friction and has created a form of a movement that is detrimental not only to others that aren't like them, but in the long run, it's detrimental to them. It could be used as a weapon of mass destruction, right? So the double-edged sword of nostalgia it reminds us of values of care, community, and genuine connection. But it also can be an illusionary trap in a way that we get stuck in that cycle and we don't move forward. We don't evolve because life is going to move forward with or without you. Things are going to change. It's going to challenge you to get out of your comfort zone. And a lot of us have a tendency to want to escape that Piscean energy of escapism, right? Wanting to go back to what is familiar, where we are safe cocoon, separate from the world around us. So the shadow aspect of that nostalgia is, it can be weaponized to justify regression. The good old days narrative, right? Make America Great Again. So that's what has been manifesting within our consciousness, our collective consciousness for over 10 years. And how this is playing out in the collective, if you have lived through it and have bear witness to it, we've seen it. But some people are seeking safety from retreating into the illusion of past stability. Even right now, they may not be in that particular Make America Great sentiment, but looking at what is the world crumbling around us, we are wanting to have some type of escapism. We long for just a few months before the elections, right? The United States elections, or even 2 years ago, or even 10 years ago or 15 years ago, a time where we felt safe and secure and sure of the world around us. Now, other people are remembering the real values of care and using them to build new structures, remembering the past, the positive aspects of the past that is beneficial and healthy for all individuals, and carrying that into this new reality that we are building. How can we take the good of the past and integrate it into the present and the future that is going to be healthy and beneficial for all beings? So we have this duality that is playing within the collective psyche right now. So we're going to go ahead and move into the second card, which would be the Tower card. So in the Tower card, the key takeaway is that the destruction is necessary, but what comes after is up to us. How will you rebuild? How will we rebuild as a collective? Now, what this card represents, the Tower card, a lot of people really loathe when a Tower card comes up in a reading because the energy feels bad. Human beings, we don't like change, even if that change is for the betterment of all individuals. And with the Tower card, it is mandatory change. Now, what is going to happen is you're going to have to go through the rubble, through the chaos, through the destruction in order to get to the other side of that positive change. And that's what's happening. It's a sudden and inevitable collapse of old structures. Referring back to what I was stating about the cycles of how astrology is about planetary cycles. So we had in America, a recent Pluto cycle that we experienced was America's Pluto return in Capricorn. And now we are living in the aftermath of that Pluto return. And Pluto is very much an alchemy planet. It is going to remove that which no longer serves you. It's going to expose that what has been hidden in the dark, in the shadows. It is, I call it the castor oil of planets. Very necessary, but very distasteful. And that is what happened. That's what happened in America. It exposed the truths. It exposed the ugliness and the shadows. Those who had the eyes to see been calling it out. And if you recognize what this country was built upon, which was the genocide of indigenous Native Americans, the enslavement of Africans and human trafficking them over to the Americas. You have misogyny, the way we treat women in this country, the way we treat marginalized communities, class wars, or the oppression of working class, the erasure of middle class, and the oppression of the poor class. It's yeah. And the demonization of immigrants that are of a certain hue. And let me be very specific when it comes to that. So all these things have come up during this Pluto in Capricorn, Pluto return in America. And like I said, you also, when Pluto entered Capricorn in 2008, you had the bailing out of big banks, the banking system collapsing, the housing market collapsing, all those different things that are traditional of value, of status, of what Capricorn represents. You put in the work, you get rewards. But when things are, like I said, built on quicksand, it eventually is going to tumble. It's going to fall. And when things aren't built aren't sustainable, they're going to collapse. And again, this is what we're experiencing. This is the aftermath. This is one of the aftermaths of that. So it's shocking, it's destabilizing, and it's often a painful moment of realization of the truth of the matter. It's the hard conversations that people are refusing to have, but it's necessary to have in order to overcome what we are currently experiencing and be honest and realistic. We like to live in denial of the truth. All of us in varying ways. And we also have a tendency, if it doesn't affect us, it doesn't matter. If it doesn't apply to us, it doesn't matter. And we're going to have to get over that, because what we are experiencing now is going to all directly affect all of us. It may be indirectly affecting some of us now, but eventually it will directly affect you too. And that is what happened in the voting, is that many individuals only had their own self-interest and did not think about the ramifications of how this was going to affect all people. And many of them thought that it won't happen to them. But unfortunately, the aftermath is it's affecting them too. And they're confused and they're disheartened and they feel betrayed because they didn't recognize that we were all pawns in a chess game. We were all pawns in a chess game. And so when we recognize that and we turn within and we realign ourselves with God's truth, there we will feel empowered. There we can show compassion and grace for ourselves and others, no matter their lived experience, no matter what their lived experience is. And that's what Pluto does. It's going to smack you in the face and give you a dose of reality. We are now in Pluto of Aquarius. In the next episode, we will talk about that. But I just wanted to highlight how that relates to the Tower card. So with that Tower card and giving you a little bit background of Pluto, the systems people relied on, they're breaking down. They're not sustainable. The illusions that sustain those systems have crumbled and are continuing to crumble. And those who have been in denial are being forced to see the truth. Though not everyone is accepting of it yet. And so that's going to be a process. The uniqueness about being an individual in a marginalized community as a Black woman, even though I got God confidence, baby. But when you are classified in that and you are raised a certain way where you see things differently, you can see stuff happen. You can see stuff before it fully happens. You can see the trajectory of how things are going to unfold before it happens, because of your own personal lived experience, because of discussion, of educating yourself, of the history, of cycles that we all have experienced collectively in the past. You can see signs of it manifesting in the future. That's why when people were warning people of fascism, a lot of people ignored it. It can't happen here. This is America. It happens elsewhere. It doesn't happen here. But when people are aware of certain behaviors, certain rhetorics, certain things that they may have experienced and why they left that particular country, or they are students of history, they call it out. But those who have not experienced it, or it doesn't affect them, or they just don't care, they're going to ignore it until it happens to them, and then they still will be in denial of it actually happening. So that is also what is happening collectively. People are still in denial, even though metaphorically the systems and the buildings have crumbled around them. We are in the apocalypse. We are in the apocalypse. America is in its apocalypse, the aftermath of its Pluto return. And those systems have crumbled and have fallen down. And so there's two responses to this tower destruction. There's the awakening and the resistance to change. So in the awakening, we're seeing the falsehoods for what they are and choosing transformation, accepting the change, and working towards to rebuilding the rebuilding process. You know, we're integrating and we're integrating into the whole, look, this is what it is. There's nothing that we can do about it. We got to accept it. But what can we do to change it for the better? What can we do to rebuild it so it's beneficial and for all individuals, and it's healthy for all individuals? So that's the awakening, and seeing the truth for what it is, no matter how painful and hurtful it is. If you can face the truth and accept it and make a choice based off of that, you're awakening. Then there are those who are resistant to change. They thrive in they're choosing to be rooted in fear, anger, clinging to the past, or looking for scapegoats. I want to even dive further into this, and I am going to do another upcoming episodes on these words. In the American rhetoric, there have been words that have been hijacked and demonized and used to bully people and groups of people and to quote unquote shame people. And that word is woke. That word is about being aware. And here's the thing about this. It's either you're asleep or you are asleep in a coma, leading life blindly, ignorant, in your own devachan, in your own illusion. When you are not awake, you are living in illusion, right? And so being woke means being aware of one's differences, being aware of the falsehoods, being aware of your own inner truth, being aware of all the truths, the good, bad, and ugly of a particular situation, of a particular history, of an experience. That's what being awoke is about. When you are woke, when you have faced truth head on, you can make the right decisions that is going to be healthy for you and all other parties involved. And you can take that information and make a difference for yourself and for the people around you and for your future. So when they take that and they use that to and demonize it and use that to bully and project it and looking for scapegoats, which is resistance to change, the opposite of that is choosing to live in a devachan, choosing to live in an illusionary state, caught up in falsehoods, caught up in things that feed your ego that does not feed your soul. Being woke means that your soul is being fed because you're being fed the truth. And you're seeing, and that's another thing. This also leads to recognizing the diversity in lived experiences. And that's another word that they're demonizing. And the thing about it is, when you make fun of diversity, when you demonize diversity, you are demonizing God and God's creation. And that's a fact. There is unity in diversity. Diversity leads to innovation. Because when you're coming to the table of equity, varied experience, varied perspectives are all sitting at the table and having conversations and discussions and workshopping, and they are coming up with solutions based. It's not an echo chamber. That's another thing. Understand they are demonizing certain words because they want you to fall in line with a certain ideology that is beneficial to them. And if you understand how the brain works, and when you repeat things over and over again, and you show certain images, it's a form of a tool. It's a tool. It's a tool to destroy and distract and to oppress and suppress. So I'm going to do another episode when it comes to woke and diversity, equity, and inclusion, because diversity, equity, inclusion is that you're bringing on varied, again, lived experiences, varied perspectives, different approaches, different, ways to come up with a solution, different ways to innovate. I can go on, but we got to move forward. But I just want to say that. So when you are talking about being anti woke, that means that you are resistant to change. You are choosing to live in falsehood. You are clinging to a past, and you're looking for scapegoats to project your shadow onto. That's all. Nothing more, nothing less. And as Jane Fonda just said at the SAG Awards, another way of looking at woke is that you give a damn about other people. You're selfless. You care about them because you care about yourself. So just understand that. There's nothing wrong with being woke, because if you are on the spiritual path of self-mastery, of living in alignment with God's truth and love and grace and compassion, you are woke. You are awakened. You are no longer asleep to the, you're no longer asleep and caught up in the glamour, in the illusions, in the Maya of this world. Congratulations. Moving forward, we're looking at the Nine of Pentacles. So this leans more into the privilege divide, and this actually builds upon what we were talking about in the Tower and the nostalgia, right? So the question here is, who will use their resources to help build the new world, and who will hide in their illusions of security? So what this card represents is stability, personal wealth, and insulation from crisis, at least for some, right? So here's the thing. You know what shadowed the illusion for a lot of people? And it just showed no matter how much money that you have, you're just one disaster or catastrophe away from being in a situation that can overwhelm you or displace you. Those fires that happen, in cycles in California, depending on the seasons, but definitely the fires that's happened that in this past January 2025, it burned a lot of individuals' houses down from varied backgrounds. There was a lot of wealthy people who lost their house. There was a lot of people who were working class, middle class, who lost their house. And even the playing field. Now, there are some people who have resources to rebuild. And I bet you there are some people who give off the illusion that they're wealthy or rich. Maybe they invest a lot of their money in their house. But that fire really took away, it just, something that I would not wish on anybody, no matter what their socioeconomic background is, because it's traumatizing. It is traumatizing. But it shattered illusion for a lot of people that because I have money and I have this house, I'm safe, and but Mother Nature showed something different. So I say all that to say is the illusion. We have to ground and we have to center ourselves. I mean, there was a reason why that was brought into my conscience to make that statement. But going back to current day of what we are experiencing, there are individuals who feel that this situation, what is happening with our government, what is happening socially, what is happening politically, what is happening spiritually, does not affect them, because I can hide behind my resources. And this card also represents that a gap between those that are still comfortable, regardless of what's happening around them, versus those who are feeling the weight of the collapse, which is predominantly marginalized communities, predominantly the working class and the working middle class, the working poor, and those who are unhoused, they're feeling the weight of the collapse. So I say, and I stand by this, even if it's not directly affecting you, what's going on right now, if it's not directly affecting you now, it's going to directly affect you in the near future. And so this card is coming up saying, like, there are those who are living, we are living in this privilege divide. There are people who are living, who are feeling comfort from their illusion. Some people believe that they can ride this out without being affected. I beg to differ. Others are becoming hyper aware that stability is an illusion. I am more in the latter part, and so are others. But this is actually what I'm seeing is people are coming together. People are mobilizing. All ages, all backgrounds, all creeds, all colors, all genders, all races, international community, they know what's up. They're sending light, love. They're doing what they can in their countries, and they are speaking truth to power, bringing the truth out of the darkness into the light, and holding many of us accountable for our actions. So we're all in this together. And so the challenge is with this Nine of Pentacles, it's challenging us for about, will those with resources and influences step up to create real change? Or will they cling to their privilege, hoping the storm passes them by? I beg to differ. I believe that this is all going to affect us directly. If we don't do something about what's going on, if we choose to be passive, then the results is things are going to happen to us. If we choose to take action and be proactive, then we will see some change. It's not going to happen overnight. It's just we didn't get here overnight. It's not going to happen. The change is not going to happen overnight. It's going to be incremental change, but we have to be consistent and we have to work together in order to allow we take turns to take breaks and to have reprieve and regenerate and rejuvenate. A little bit of escapism is fine, but as long as we get back to work. So the momentum is, are we mobilizing? Are we mobilizing? Are we working together? Are we going to take action? Are we going to do something? And that is where the King of Wands. And it's interesting because two court cards came out. The King of Wands and the King of Swords. We will get to the King of Swords very soon after we go over the King of Wands, but they do go hand in hand. Both yang energy. The Six of Cups and the Nine of Pentacles is yin energy, receptive energy, feminine energy, not as a person, but as how the energy moves, how it's the energy signature. So when it's yang energy, like the King of Wands and the King of Swords, it's action orientated. It's masculine energy, meaning that it's action orientated, where Pentacles and Cups is more receptive. It's more still. It's more reactive. So with this King of Wands and Wands being of fire, it's about action and rebellion. So the key takeaway is fire needs direction. Fire needs direction. It needs to be contained and it needs to follow some type of direction and focusedness. Passion is essential. We are all, what has been slumber within the conscious, the collective conscious, because truth be told, a lot of us was like, this is not going to happen to us. We had him last time. We voted him out. We know how he is. And people took advantage of that. But now we are being forced to do something. And what has been happening, the cuts, the threats, the dismantling, it's getting people riled up. That fire energy is coming out roaring. It was kind of like what happened in January was an omen. So passion is essential, but it must be focused to create lasting change. And so what this card represents is passion, movement, activism, and rebellion. The energy of fire is intense, fast moving, and very, very powerful. So how does this show up in the collective? What I'm seeing, especially online, is the rise of, people are rising up. People are organizing. People are speaking out. How do we mobilize? They're resisting. They are communicating with each other. You even have individuals that are MAGA orientated. They are getting direct effects, that the cause and effect, right? They're experiencing the effect of their vote, of their decision, of their support of someone who doesn't care for anybody except themselves and his party involved, meaning the people who associate him. They only care about themselves. Again, go back to pawns on a chessboard. And they're waking up and realizing that they were pawns on a chessboard and they were used for others' personal gains. And they're waking up. And they're speaking out. Look at the town halls. They are speaking out. The Republicans, the MAGA Republicans, they're going to the town halls and they are speaking out against their elected Republican official and holding and speaking out. They are speaking out. I know that's right. And they need to continue to do that. We all need to continue to do that. So again, people are rising up. They're organizing, they're resisting, and they are speaking out. And I decree and affirm that this continues to happen. A desire to break free from stagnation and push forward. That's what this King of Wands energy represents. We have been stagnant and it's time for us to move forward. We have no choice but to move forward. We have no choice but to rebuild. We have no choice but to work together and defend and advocate for ourselves. Because if you do not, our freedoms and our liberties will be taken away. So the potential risks of this unchanneled energy is impulsiveness and reactionary behavior rather than strategic. So we are going to have to be proactive. We cannot be reactionary based off of what they do. We have to be proactive. We have to be strategic. We have to have a plan. We can discuss it, but ongoing debates, criticizing each other, cutting at our throats is not going to do it. It's going to be the detriments, it's going to be the fall of our demise if we go down that path. So we have to be proactive and we have to be strategic. And that King of Swords following this King of Wands is pretty much the antidote of this. Also, a risk, and I personally experienced this, not having to do with this, but burnout. Burnout leads to withdrawal, leads to depression, leads to anxiety, leads to apathy, leads to poor health. So we have to pace ourselves. We're all in this spiritual army working together. We're all spiritual activists advocating for our well-being and our community's well-being and our international community's well-being. Those in other countries, send light to America, please. Send healing energies to America. Send some for yourself and put protective shields energetically around, because this type of mentality that is manifesting, that has manifested, and that is in places of power, it's cancerous. It's an energy cancer. And if you aren't careful and you get affected, it is good. It's going to be very detrimental to all of us. So we're going to have strong mental fortitude, strong emotional fortitude, strong spiritual fortitude. And that leads us into the King of Swords. And this is the battle for truth. And the key takeaway here is truth seeking must lead to strategy. Awareness is the first step, but what we do with it is what matters. So this card represents sharp intellect, questioning narratives, and seeking deeper understanding. Question everything. They don't want you to question. Question me. Question everything around you. It's okay to ask questions. Seek to understand if you want to be understood. Question what you are reading on social media. Just don't believe everything that comes across your timeline, that comes in your inbox, that comes on your social media feed, or you have discussions with other individuals. Question them. How do they come up with that thought process? Or where do they get that statement from? The energy of air, it cuts through deception and confusion. And we need to be very intentional. We need to be very vigilant. We need to be very protective of our emotional spaces and our mental spaces. It's okay to do research. It's okay to do comparative analysis. It's okay to question. And how this is playing out in the collective is there is an increasing hunger for truth, for seeing beyond propaganda and misinformation and disinformation, right? Mis and disinformation are two things. One is very intentional. I think that's disinformation. Misinformation is people just saying stuff and it's just all wrong, or pieces of it is wrong, but disinformation is when you're intentionally sending out information and it's dead wrong and you know it's dead wrong, but you're doing it to cause chaos, strife, discord, confusion, division, instability. It's a weapon of mass destruction. That's why you're seeing a rise of independent media, because the mainstream media is they are compromised. That's the word I'm looking at. They're compromised. And it's like they're parroting things off of a script. And you're seeing more opinions fueled in and not facts. So it's okay to question that and turn that off, but you are seeing a rise of independent media, citizen journalists. You're seeing how we're all, if anything, all this is forcing us to work together as community. And that's another Aquarian theme. I'm really looking forward to diving into Pluto and Aquarius, because there's a lot of things that themes that are relative to what is in the zeitgeist now. And I look forward to us diving deeper into that in the next episode. But you're seeing more people looking and seeking for information beyond the propaganda and the misinformation. People are questioning mainstream narratives, but also struggling to discern what's real. It's okay to ask questions and ask for citations and ask for evidence, legit evidence. You're seeing a lot of the online slop. You're seeing a lot of the AI slop that's been around even before AI, mis and disinformations, but AI is just enhancing that. And I'm neutral to AI. It's a tool, just like everything else. It's about the individuals who are programming these things and who are pushing these tools out. And what is their intention of using these tools? Why do they program it the way they did? So that's a whole nother conversation we'll dive into. But the challenge here is also information warfare is real. Information warfare, that's what we're experiencing. Psychological warfare. The inundation of all this information every day is something new. It's to tire us out. So we stop questioning, that we stop being vigilant, that we just push it away and turn our heads. And then that's when they do their dirty work because they're trying to tire us out. But it is informational warfare, psychological warfare, and most importantly, spiritual warfare. It is real. And these false narratives, these controlled oppositions and manipulative tactics, that is what they're using. Okay. King of Swords, the dark side of that, they're using that against us. So we don't We don't advocate for ourselves, and we don't resist, and we don't push back, and we don't question. I challenge you. All this stuff about they're taking away this, dismantling. Understand that there's a process to this. You can't just go writing orders, and you can't just go dismantling because you don't like something. There is a process and a system in place. So when you're looking at certain cuts, they can't just go do that. Go look it up and see what is the legislative, there's a legislative process behind certain things. So don't just take things for face value, because a lot of it is to scare you and to knock you off your square. So when you're hearing things coming down the pipeline, do your own research, do your own due diligence, question things, learn how things come to be. That is what I will, that's an action tip for you. So the challenge here, another challenge is the danger of arguing endlessly without taking action. Rise a podcast, after I retired out of it 5 years ago, it's about debates, if you notice that. People debating, arguing amongst each other, causing dissension, being divisive, all that is in play. So I want to go ahead and move forward with a call to action here. And that's going to be in every episode, a call to action about awakening, aligning, and acting. So awakening, if you're feeling the weight of the moment, don't turn away. Lean in, seek clarity, be vigilant against misinformation and illusion. Question the stories being told, both in the media and within yourself. What truths have you ignored or avoided? The time for passive observation is over. We are spiritual activists. We are co-creators of our life. This is not a drill. Light workers and shadow divers, it's time to get to work. Prayer warriors, it's time to get to work. It's time to cultivate community. It's time to question and do our own research. It's time to come together, no matter what our lived experiences are. We are at war right now. The next thing is align. What do you stand for? What world do you want to create? Find your community. And I want you to seek out those who are committed to action and not just discussion. This podcast is a great tool for discussion, but my call to action to you is to take action. Let's go beyond this podcast or the newsletter that you signed up for, or the YouTube channel that you're watching, or the social media channel that you're following. We have to start taking action. We can no longer be passive. This is our lives. We need to advocate for ourselves. Align your energy with purpose, whether that's through activism, no matter how small or minute or how large it is, education, resource sharing, or healing work. Every role is needed, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically. Act. Movement without direction is chaos. Got to have a game plan. Have a game plan. But movement with intention is transformation. So support grassroots efforts. Challenge oppressive systems. We got to do that now. And use your voice with precision and courage. If you have privilege, use it to uplift others. If you have knowledge, share it. If you have fire, channel it into lasting change. Because the tower has fallen. And what we build now is up to us. So you can choose to be part of the creation process or live passively and get lost in the sauce. So with that being said, this is the end of episode 1 of Alchemystic Insight podcast. I'm so happy that you're here. In episode 2, you and I will be going over macro and micro insights of the Pluto of Aquarius dismantling process. Future episodes also include the Neptune in Aries dissolving process and Uranus in Gemini's disruptive liberating process. Fun. So a lot of things that we're going to be going over in this new era that we are in. I'm very happy to be back with you. And until next time, may the divine's love, divine's will, and divine's intelligence flow from within and around you. Namaste.
Thank you for listening to Alchemystic Insight with Danielle M Holdman. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, not just to the show, but also to the accompanying newsletter at danielleholdman.com. There, you will find deeper insights and updates. Until next time, lots of peace, love, imagination, and action.